It's episode 1250. Oh, I like round numbers. 1,250. Oh, my goodness. And it's a relevant podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia is Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Nashville, our managing editor downtown, Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
And in LA, it's artist, producer, mogul, Marty.
What up?
1,250. That's unbelievable.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, wow. It's quite a number.
Sneaks up on you. Our 20th anniversary is in August, so it sneaks up on you.
25th anniversary. Or 20th of the podcast.
20th anniversary of the podcast. 25th anniversary of Relevant is this summer. 20th anniversary of the podcast is in August. So
what's the most viewed podcast episode so far on this channel?
I have absolutely no.
You guys looked that up or no?
No.
Okay. All right.
Like, honestly, 20 years of podcasts, we've visited so many different hosts over the years.
I know.
It's like, where's the data? I don't know.
Well, even just the technology, how it's evolved since then. I mean,
do you remember for the first 10 years, the only way you could get download numbers is to look on our server logs to see how many downloads the MP3 file had. Yeah. And then it would say like 283,000 downloads. And we're like, okay, who knows if that was just the file being hit for a second or like they listened to the full hour. We had no clue.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. No data. Yeah. Wow.
We debuted. We were one of the top podcasts in the world because at the time there was like 6. And 2 of them were default like instruction manuals for iPods, which was the only way you could listen to them.
Oh, wow.
So, it was us, the New York Times, John Tesh, and Joel Osteen. We were... Yeah.
Nice.
Joel was early on that.
Man. We had a rivalry with him for years.
He stood us up, by the way. Do you remember that? Joel Osteen at the Nik Wallenda tightrope walk in
Chicago.
We were supposed to meet him directly after, and he was flown away. But we did meet Nik Wallenda in the hotel lobby. But I've never gotten over Joel Osteen standing us up.
Wow.
Well, the funnier thing is that Nik Wallenda doing this death-defying stunt live on Discovery Channel. He was, going in between those 2 iconic Chicago towers on a tight wire.
Wilco towers, yeah.
Yeah, and we were all tuning in live. It was in the era where Discovery was doing like live stunts of like the guy getting eaten by an anaconda live and all that kind of stuff. And so Nik Wallenda, Jesse and I were like, this is great. We're going to fly up to Chicago. This is hilarious. Got press pass, media access. We're all in the great viewing shot. The whole city's out watching it. And we're sitting there waiting, for the live broadcast and live moment to happen. And I remember Jesse and I both, and we think things are hilarious. We both sobered up going, this is disgusting. We're here to watch a man fall to his death. That either this is going to be boring or a man is going to fall to his death. What are we doing? We are sick. But because he could have fallen to his death, the pastor he had on hand to pray with him before he went out there was Joel Osteen. That's why he was there.
Oh my!
I was just about to ask you why Joel was there, and now I know. In case he died,
he was like the priest doing the last rites kind of thing.
Oh my gosh!
It's true.
It was the first people to greet Nik Wallenda as he crossed over. It's like his wife and kids, and then Joel Osteen for reasons that were never made clear in the special or on that night. And
there was a lot of Joel Osteen cutaways during the walk. I remember that. Like
in the weeks leading,
he was there praying for him.
The weeks leading up to it, I had found out he's going to be there, and I'm emailing his people. So yeah, he'll definitely do an interview with you after. You can talk all about his perspective. It was too weird of a culmination of things for us not to do like a funny interview with. And so I'm like, all right, let's go talk to Joel. And he was gone. He was whisked away in a helicopter or something.
Oh yeah, for sure. I have a Joel Osteen story. My first show I ever performed in Miami, Joel Osteen was giving just cutting a check. He gave the church a check for $100,000. It was for charity. But the way that they advertised it was there was a concert happening, but before that, there's a 15-minute ceremony with Joel Osteen cutting the check with the pastor and them leaving. Then I perform. They decided to swap it because Joel came a little late. He was heading there. And so all the people who waited in line were all Joel Osteen fans, and all of Social Club Misfit fans didn't get in the building. So they're all outside waiting, and I'm in this and I had to perform for 1,000 people that did not want to see me and just wanted me to get off stage so that Joel Osteen could cut so they could see him, and then they all disappeared. So I had to perform. No one stood up. Everyone. It was like you ever seen like TBN? You cross and like you're going through the stations and they're all sitting at circular tables. Like they're not even like facing. It's like the Golden Globes. You know, like you go to like TBN. They're no longer sitting in like an auditorium. They're in circular tables. It's different now. You know, and so they were all just that crowd staring at me. And I remember performing like Cops or something, and they just did not like it at all. And so I remember just being like, all right, I cut my set short and I was like, hey, God bless y'all. And we left. And then Joel Osteen came up to us afterwards, like, that was really good, son. That was great. That was fantastic. I was like, thank you, sir. And I was like, I met Joel Osteen and let's just go home. It was really embarrassing, very shameful to perform in front of people who do not want to see you.
I've only met him one time. And again, you got to remember back in 2005 to 2012 or 13, we had a very deliberate, ongoing, one-sided rivalry with the Joel Osteen podcast.
Emphasis on one-sided.
It was very
he has no idea
on that one.
He was the number one podcast in the Christian category on iTunes those years. We were the number 2. Then we dropped to 3. He dropped to 2. We were always right behind him. And so we were very self-deprecatingly, tongue-in-cheek, you know, going after Joel Osteen, right?
Until Christine Kane came and took everyone off.
Yeah, well, things are really different now. So then in like 2014 or 15, 16, somewhere in there, I was invited to go out to see the shooting of Ben-Hur in Rome. And in this, they were shooting a big chariot race scene where like one breaks off and goes up into the stands. And so they're shooting big production set. They built this recreation of the Coliseum, you know, race way and all this kind of stuff. And so we're standing there and I look right to my right and there's Joel Osteen and his wife. We were the guests. It was me, Joel Osteen, his wife, and maybe one other person. And so we were visiting the set on the same day. So I spent the entire day in Rome with Joel Osteen. And we ended up having dinner that night at his favorite restaurant, is Robert De Niro's favorite restaurant.
What did you talk about?
Honestly, I was so nervous that he knew that we had been talking crap about him for 10 years. Like the whole day I was on edge. Like I had
no idea.
No clue. He knew Relevant and he knew my parents. His parents and my parents were kind of peers. And so he, while older than me, you know, he was the son, took over his dad's ministry. My dad has a media company that covered his dad. Anyway, whatever. So there's like these overlapping things. So it's kind of like, I met him when he was like in high school kind of thing. Like we had memories back in the day. So he was kind of like reminiscing about that and kind of how crazy our upbringing was and that kind of stuff. And the whole time I'm making this small talk with him thinking, dear God, I hope he's never heard our podcast. Like the whole time I was on edge, but it turned out fine.
That's awesome. I feel like Joe would be funny. Is he funny at all? Like,
oh yeah,
talking to you? I feel like he would just make you crack up.
Dude,
like,
this is the thing. I get the criticism. I get it. I get the optics. I get this inch deep teaching. I get it. It's not my cup of tea. What he does is not my cup of tea. I will tell you, he was the most kind, funny, engaging, nice person to everybody we encountered. It wasn't just me. It was everybody. And it was just like, okay, I need to probably not have a rivalry with him publicly. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
So yeah, we kind of like backed off after that. Well, and we plummeted in the charts by that point. So, you know, he left us in the dust.
Well, wouldn't it be funny if like, it's like, what am I going to talk to him? He just walks up to you and he's like, yo, what do you think of this new J. Cole song? And you're like, what?
Yeah. Hey, have you heard of this group Social Club Misfits? I just did an event with them. They're hype. You know, like,
yeah, he was, let me tell you something. He saw us perform because he was standing there waiting for us to finish and get off stage. And I do remember I was extremely embarrassed. And I walked off stage and he gave me I have no idea, never met him before. He gave us, me and Fern, a handshake. He's wearing a suit, by the way. We're dressed in street clothes. Everyone there is in like gowns. I don't know why. For 15 minutes of his check cutting thing where he's giving money away. But he gave us both a handshake, a hug, and like it was like the Obama handshake type thing. Like he was trying to go like make it like, you know, we do hip hop type thing. So he was like, good to see you. Give me like the dap type thing.
Yeah.
And he's got street cred. I don't know. Something about him was like, he knows how to talk to anybody. He knows what he's doing. He's not
He's from
He's
Houston.
not
He was
clueless.
raised on Mike Jones, man. I mean,
you know what I'm saying? He called
Yeah.
the phone number. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. I have no idea. Well, we had other things we were going to talk about at the beginning of the show.
I'm glad we covered this.
But yeah. Anyway, we have a great show coming up. Joel Osteen is not the guest. Cautious Clay is the guest, one of our favorite alt R&B artists. Yeah, he has a new album coming out. We're excited about that. Also, we have another edition of One Has to Go at the end of the show. But stay tuned. Right now, up next, it's Relevant Buzz. Not sure what's next after college? Ready to step out of your comfort zone and into something meaningful? Check out the Global Ambassador Program from ELIC. You'll spend 9 months, September to May, on a team of passionate people just like you in Thailand, Tunisia, or Uzbekistan. You'll grow through mentorship, take language classes, immerse yourself in a new culture, and teach English to the local community, all while building real-life skills and making a real impact. Sound good? Head to elic.org/relevant to learn more. Again, that's elic.org/relevant. Okay, it's time for
Relevant Buzz.
Tell us what's happening at the intersection of faith and culture this week, Emily.
Well, I have got some exciting news to start us off with. For the first time in over a decade, there are 2 songs that started out on the Christian charts that have also charted on Billboard's Hot 100.
Wait, first time in over a decade. Who was it? First of all, before you get into the current information, who was it a decade ago that did that? Yeah, I'm trying to
It's
think.
going to be Amy Grant.
Not a decade ago? 2015? No way.
It was 2014.
Oh, okay. Is that Oceans?
Oceans did chart that year, but that's not what this time is talking about.
So Ocean. So there are other times that a Christian song has gone on both charts, but you're saying the last time it was 2 Christian songs on both charts at the same
got
time was 11 years ago.
Yes.
I cannot think.
I can only imagine.
No.
Didn't that have a moment when it was
It
like
did.
on American?
I think that was before 2014.
Yeah, I think that was like.
Multi-platinum, too.
Yeah.
Who was it? Who was it 11 years ago? Tell
It
us.
was Carrie Underwood
Oh.
and Craig Wayne Boyd, who did a cover of The Old Rugged Cross.
Oh, wait. Okay. But this feels different because Carrie Underwood is a mainstream artist who did a Christian
Yeah.
song.
And
Sure.
that's not a contemporary song. That's like an
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So that's a
Chance the
little.
Rapper
That's-
doing it. It doesn't really count.
That's an asterisk, I think.
It
So
is an
this
asterisk.
So the fact that these are 2 Christian artists from the Christian industry.
Yes, which these 2 artists, in case you haven't seen it yet, was Brandon Lake's Hard Fought Hallelujah and Forrest Frank's newest song, Your Way's Better.
Man,
That's incredible.
good for them.
Good for them. And independent. One of them is independent, which is incredible.
Okay, wait. So Brandon Lake's Hard Fight Hallelujah, it's been on there for a couple months now.
It's been on the Hot 100 for 11 weeks now, and it's
Wow.
sitting at number
That's
44.
amazing.
Mhm.
Amazing. Honestly, that's like, Brandon.
It debuted
Brandon's
in the top 10.
Well,
Whoa.
Brandon's a perfect example of working. He always is working and always releasing new things. And like, even as this song is doing well, he's got the Sons of
Sons of
Sunday, whatever, that are doing very well. Like,
Did you say
he
Sons
of
of Thunder?
Yeah,
That would be
Isn't that a
awesome.
wrestling
That would
team
be
or something,
awesome.
or is that in the Bible? I don't know, but yeah, like he's doing
I think
so
it is
many
in the
different
Bible,
things.
actually.
Yeah, it is. It's like the 3 disciples that. But I just think to myself, like, he's constantly, like, both of these artists consistently drop a lot of music, and it's amazing to see, like, this is the momentum of that. I think it's pretty cool.
Well, Forrest Frank, we were looking this up because he posted us last night, and so I was like, "How big is he?" And he has 4 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah, no, I mean, he had 100,000 like 2 years ago. Like, that's
Right.
how.
He's
and he dropped
exploded.
a new record recently that has 20 more songs on it. So it's like, and then I mean, my buddy Biz, who mixes his music, was telling me that Forrest is like, he lives in the middle of like nowhere on like a beach town in Texas, and he makes 1 song a week, and that's like his job. And this is all like just momentum of him making good music. And then even his interview in the Doves, we talked about it on the other episode, where he's just kind of like, I'm just happy to be here. I don't really, I'm just having fun, and I love God, and we love my family, and let's keep it moving, like not an industry guy, had success in the mainstream. And both of these guys are the perfect, I was always thinking, who's going to take Christian music to that next level, because you have Toby Mac, all these guys are aging, they're getting older, and I'm
Toby
glad
is
that
63 years old.
Is
I'm
he
glad
really?
that Forrest and I'm glad that Brandon Lake are taking the reins, and hopefully they keep it going.
The thing about Forrest, like you said, he had mainstream success. I don't know if his current fans know this. I mean, he was part of Surfaces, which is an awesome indie group that
won 2 Grammys. Yeah,
we loved. Yeah, and they had the Sunday Best. They had it was like clean Christian, or the one Christian.
It was
clean
like music,
clean indie pop, and we're like, huh? We noticed that we covered them over the years. We had him in the mag, and then he started doing Christian songs on the side, kind of as his own name, and then those got momentum. I assumed that he would lean back toward the services direction or just kind of the mainstream direction. And that's how he'd get his huge numbers. And what he's doing is he's gone so far toward the Jesus direction.
Yeah.
And he's getting the huge numbers. That, to me, I've never seen that happen before.
Incredible.
Consistency.
I mean, he's the truth is he has everything he needs. He's, great music, produces everything himself, self-sufficient. And from everything, I don't know him, but from everything that I've heard from him, people who live with him on the bus, working on his music, he's a really good dude. And he's one of those guys where he's almost like a hippie, where for instance, one of the screens didn't work on tour and Biz was out there, who works at Reach, and he mixes his music. They're mixing the album. One of the screens went off and Biz was like, this is a big deal. And he just walked up to Biz. He goes, you know what, man, things like this happen, but God will always be glorified. And that's his mentality. So I like when people like that win. I think it's pretty cool.
What I like too, and this is no shade to who I'm about to mention as just a reference, but
maybe a little
Joel Osteen.
The last time I can think of in recent history that a Christian artist got big mainstream accolade and awareness was Lauren Daigle. Right.
Yes.
Lauren went from a Christian label to Atlantic, and all of a sudden she's the Christian person at whatever, the Grammys or whatever. And this was before Mav City. Right. But what happened with Lauren was when a lot of money got involved, I think, this is just my observation, I have no insider information, this is just my observation from the outside, is it seems like the bigger the stages got, the more her music leaned toward inspirational than overtly Jesus. If you really look at her lyrics, she started out in worship back in the day, and it really kind of veered toward just positive music. And that's what I assumed Forrest would do, because the stages get bigger, more money's involved, more people have a say, and it dilutes the message. It just does. Forrest is going the furthest into the Jesus stuff that I've ever seen, and it hasn't changed. And it's almost like he's gotten more emboldened with it, and it's beautiful to see. And I'm cheering him on. I think what's happening is singular. We've never seen this happen before.
It is interesting. You mentioned Lauren, and like I said, there's been 11 songs that have crossed over from the Christian charts to the Hot 100. And the last song before this year was in 2019, Lauren Daigle's You Say. So in 6 years, there hasn't been a crossover. So the fact that there's now 2 songs that have crossed over at the same time is interesting.
This is a bad question, and I probably shouldn't ask this on the show, but I feel like Lauren... Where's she been? Is she making new music, or
didn't she put out a record? I don't know.
She put out a record 2 years ago, and she's just been touring it.
It was very New Orleans, jazzy, funky kind of vibe. What I deeply respect about Lauren is after she blew up around 2015, 16, she was not ready for the pressure of blowing up. So she intentionally went home and took a year and a half to get away from the entertainment industry and just be normal and be with her family and friends.
Yeah.
And I respect that.
That's
and then
great.
she got refueled, and then came back and was intentional about then the album that became What You Say was part of it.
It's great.
And I think that's her thing. She doesn't need to be famous and chase the thing. She'll just go away for a while, and then she'll come back when she wants to.
That's Forrest.
She actually has said
not
that
moved by the industry.
When I spoke with her, we talked about, I think, something about the fame. And she literally said, I do not want to be famous. I just want to make songs that, glorify God, that people can connect with, that they are inspired by it. So I think she does intentionally step away from the entertainment world.
Yeah. I just feel that's amazing. I think Corey Asbury did that. He told me, he was after Reckless Love, he's I got hit up so much to do
it broke him. He hated it.
I just wanted to be with my wife and my wife. We just had another kid, he's telling me a story. It seems to be honest with you, it's funny how in our world, in the Christian world, when people do that, God honors that in a very cool way. It's like, it almost reminds me of that story of Mary and Martha. You know, one is serving and then one is like, why isn't she helping out? You know, why? And it's like Corey, Lauren, there's a thread here. Even Forrest, Frank, it's like, hey, I'm doing this because I really genuinely love the Lord. And if my career elevates, it's great, but that doesn't change my heart. And I think that that's the attitude that I love from these guys. So I want them all to win for sure.
It's funny. You even see that, like, you know, obviously another friend of Relevant that's, you know, in the entertainment world, like Nate Bargatze. Like, I've heard an interview with him recently where he's like, maybe one more album, one more tour. And then let other younger people kind of get some spotlight. I want to be with my family. I have other aspirations that, you know what I mean? It's not chasing the next big milestone, just a degree of authenticity to their values and what's really important in life is cool to see, whether it's, you know, a comedian, artist, or any type of person with a platform, you know.
I love it.
Love it.
More of it. And Brandon, who would have thought that somebody who started out with Bethel and then went to a gospel
Both of
worship
them.
group,
Yeah.
and then like now he's like wearing cowboy hats. Like who would have thought? But come on, Brandon, love it.
Him leaning into his country era is fun to watch, but it feels authentic at least. So that's good.
Him and Corey both came from Bethel. Both probably had terrible contracts. Just kidding. But that's what they're known for, I think.
He said probably, so I think legally we're fine.
Yeah,
I've heard
allegedly.
Allegedly, these 20-year deals are rough. Just kidding.
All right, moving on before we get into legal trouble.
Let's hear more.
Joel Osteen's going to sue us first, and then now Bethel's
and then
got
this,
us. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think the Wallenda family's too happy about that.
You don't want to mess with the circus family. I'll tell you that much. I learned that firsthand.
They are lawyered up. The circus folk are very litigious.
They're also scrappy. They'll show up to your house.
Sovereign citizen style. Yeah, you know how it goes.
And the scary thing is, you try to pin something on them, they skip town professionally.
Yeah, they will. We're not driving. We're traveling. You know what I'm talking about here. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm not driving. I'm a
To
traveler.
the next city. It's its own little weird world, the Carney world.
It's all based in Florida. It's Sarasota is where all the clowns. There's a literal clown college, and the Wallendas live there.
So right, so
There
on
is.
brand for Florida.
No, over in Sarasota is where P.T. Barnum and the
Carney culture. Yeah.
No, that was their winter home. So
The original
whenever,
circus.
yeah, so they founded a clown college there in Sarasota, and then all the high wire acts and all stuff. That's where they lived in the off season. So it's like there's this whole weird subculture over in Sarasota.
They all do meth. It's just a weird,
Sometimes the less you know about Carney culture, the better. They, you know, even legally,
Always,
they're sort
the
of
less
this
you know. Yeah.
autonomous. I mean, they operate outside the jurisdiction of a lot of law enforcement. Even there, just kind of let them do their thing.
They're like
their
Native
own-
Americans. They have their own law. You know what I'm saying?
Over there
Like,
in Sarasota, it's like
yeah, they have their own like governing system.
it's just south of Monkey Island. It's like where all the circus stuff is.
Like when a carnival comes to town and you're like walking around, you're like, I don't know how much of this is legal, but very like one, there's not only these mechanical rides. I don't know what the inspection protocols are, but there's gambling happen in the open out here. Like this is, you know, and I'm watching them fry, you know, an Oreo and the same thing. I just watched them put a bunch of chicken in. Everything's off book here. There's no laws and no one's enforcing them. They just let the Carney folk get away with it because they're on to the next town tomorrow. So who cares? It's their problem now.
I got into a weird algorithm thread of maybe it's because I watched it, but it was a carnival or a county fair or whatever. And, you know, they set it up in like an hour, the ride. Yeah. And it was like one of these big vertical rides. It was going around and around and it like wasn't bolted down right. And it was like teetering and like flinging backward and forward. And like people attending the carnival literally just went over and were like pushing on it.
I saw that. Yeah.
To keep it upright. And then like, because I watched that, the people saved all these lives of the people trapped on this ride. And after I watched that, then all of a sudden for about 2 days, like I saw nothing but carnival mishap videos.
I love those.
Whole subculture. Like I said, they're out of town the next day, so it's you don't even know who.
You can't even sue them. You can't even
you don't know. They're gone. They're ghosts. Yeah. You know the age of piracy that we've often romanticized in pop culture.
Yeah,
it was a very short window of time, like Pirates of the Caribbean, Blackbeard, and all that. But in my mind, it never went away. It just evolved.
It was several hundred years.
I thought you were talking about people like stealing stuff off the internet.
I think it was like 150.
Me too. I thought you were talking about how they decided to paint they decide to paint like copywritten characters, and so they have to get out of town so that Disney doesn't know where they are because they have Elsa painted on wood. You know what I'm talking about?
Here's my whole point is like this nomadic roaming outlaw lifestyle that, pirates represented. They never really went away. They just transformed into carny folk. And instead of the high seas, they're America's highways and fairgrounds. Yeah.
If you think about it, Tampa, the Buccaneers, they love their pirates. They have the whole Gasparilla Festival every year where they celebrate the pirate boat show. Yeah. And that the Tampa area, that's adjacent to Sarasota where all the carnies are. So I'm thinking there's a whole thing over there in West Florida.
Yeah, there's something evil lurking in that area of the state. There's something sinister. Sinister. That's the word I was looking for.
I think they're outlaws who play by their own rules, carny rules,
but they're direct descendants of the pirates that were in that area. So there you go.
That's
if you want to see someone with an eye patch, you can just go to the carnival. Yeah, they're going to have one there.
I guarantee you this: you're likely to see more hook hands and peg legs and eye patches among carnival workers for obvious reasons. We've seen the videos of the rides than you are. I would say it's probably the same, population density as old timey pirates when it comes to peg legs and eye patches.
Yeah,
true.
They're throwing.
I never equated that the carny are the modern day pirates. I never equated it, but you're right. Yeah.
Sinister modern day
outlaw culture.
Yeah, they're always, and it's funny. It's I'm actually going to the carnival in 2 weeks. We got tickets like Blink-182 and a bunch of country people are performing over here in Orange County. But let me tell you something. They're keeping the airbrush business alive. Everything there is airbrushed. And last time I went there, they put me on a T-shirt. I look like a Dominican cab driver.
You need to go to Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Yeah, we've got plenty.
We've got plenty of airbrushes.
Yeah.
I got to show you the shirt that they made. They painted of me. My eyes are very far apart. It looks like, my mom was drinking when I was a kid.
Please make it your avatar. Please make it.
I got to find that shirt. The shirt is so bad quality. But I remember I was like, I want to get an airbrush shirt, me and my wife. And I was like, I look like an Egyptian cab driver. I don't know what to say.
Is your wife on the shirt with you or like you each got
Yeah, she's on the shirt.
Okay.
It's both of us. And we both look like there's something just sinister.
Genetically wrong with you.
Yeah. You know how you ever seen those like guys who draw people and they emphasize areas?
Caricatures.
They didn't do that. They tried to be specific, like really detailed.
They were trying their best. Yeah.
And it's got heart and it's the whole thing.
I'll say this, cherish those politically incorrect airbrush artist stands while you can, because out here every summer, like new development pushes it one further block. We lose another block of those stores that
you're losing history.
Pretty but rough, right? What did he say? What did Drake say? That's us. Okay.
Okay. I got to somehow figure out a way to transition us back to this next news item. And I'm just going to go for it because we are still talking about legal matters, but it is not us getting sued by carnies. It is about Republican lawmakers who have introduced a new bill that would make it easier for the federal government to crack down on online pornography and possibly even ban it altogether.
Well, that's their intent.
That's the intent.
They're trying to ban pornography online. Yeah.
So this proposed law is called the Interstate Obscenity Definition Act, and it's being led by Senator Mike Lee from Utah and Representative Mary Miller from Illinois. Basically, they want to change how the government defines obscenity when it comes to online content, especially content that minors can access. Right now, what counts as obscene is based on this old Supreme Court test from the 70s called the Miller test, which looks at things like whether something has artistic or scientific value or if it appeals to prurient interests. It's pretty vague and it allows states to interpret it differently, which is why a lot of things have been allowed for the last several years.
So a couple of notes on this. So yes, 2 Republican lawmakers, 1 congressman, 1 senator have introduced a bill officially that is intended to ban online pornography. Great. We celebrate that. It's a scourge on society. Get it out of here. Great. Mm-hmm. As Christians, we celebrate it. Here's some caveats you need to understand prior to posting about this and celebrating it. 1, this senator has already submitted this bill 2 other times in the previous administration. It went nowhere, not because of the administration, but because the wording is very vague, broad, and problematic. It could be interpreted or used to ban books, VHS tapes, TV shows like Game of Thrones. Like, it's very broad.
The Bible.
And, honestly, if you look at the content of the Bible in the Old Testament, there is explicit stuff. So yes, it could. And so it would be weaponized. It would be abused. So there's no chance, even now, that this will move forward. There's no chance. Does it start a conversation in the government that maybe a more narrow something could get traction? Sure. Yay. That's good. But as is, the headline of the senators introducing a bill that would ban online porn, that's dead on arrival, like it was the last 2 times he tried. But he is trying to start a conversation on Capitol Hill, and we applaud that. And, maybe there's a version of this that will exist one day.
They have made some progress when it comes to getting porn offline. So earlier this year, these 2 Republicans, they introduced the Screen Act, which would require adult websites to use age verification tools. And about 20 states have already passed similar laws, but this would make it a national requirement. So
they're trying to implement, because Florida has that, and like you said, about 20 states. But so you're saying they're trying to just take that law and make it national. That's awesome. That would do something.
I think that's good. Yeah, I think it's when it's so broad. I remember I was reading that exact thing where it's like TV shows, and then also this administration's not the most fond on art. So what is defined as art in this administration if they could just cancel a bunch of things, Yes,
like we said, they are definitely getting the conversation into the national spotlight, which while this law may not pass, that does mean that maybe other ones can pass. So we're definitely watching this, which is, good thing.
Well, we're watching the news about the law. We're not watching
thank you for
subject.
clarifying that.
She's not out there doing her own research, is what I'm saying. We have the safe filters on our Google.
Cameron,
okay, people.
Oscar is looking up. Dwight is looking up. Dwight's looking up on the internet.
Yeah.
Michael.
Listen, guys, just to lighten this up, back to the pirate thing. Do you guys have you heard Demetri Martin's bit about pirates?
Mm-mm.
Where he's like, the thing about pirates, they never seem to bring a big enough chest. And then he goes,
because it's always spilling out, right?
Yeah.
And then the other good joke from that bit is where he's like, there sure are a lot of eye patches. I wonder if that has to do with all the hook hands.
Pretty good.
Demetri Martin's good. It's
the best.
Just a lot of one-liners. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just had to bring him back around to pirates.
He's one of those comedians, like, no offense to the fans of who I'm about to say, but like Sufjan Stevens defined an era of music, right?
Yes.
And it's
you're
like,
right.
And then you're kind of going, what happened to Sufjan Stevens? Every once in a while, like you'll just like randomly like, oh, he was so great. What happened to him? I think that way about Demetri Martin. He defined an era of comedy, and I was like, then he just completely vanished.
Yeah, there's a couple people like that I've been thinking about the last couple of days. Like, what happened to these people?
Well, he is still around. Like I
know. I follow him on IG. He's touring a little bit, but like,
but I think his he was sort of in the Mitch Hedberg era where it was
the one-liners.
And it was like very sophisticated joke writing. Where this is just my personal observation. But I feel like in the podcast era, a much more conversational style of comedy, that's storytelling, and has become that has sort of taken the place. And you see guys that have ridden the line a little, because Gaffigan was a joke teller, but now he's kind of evolved sort of into the storyteller. But the podcast era, if you watch like a modern comedy special, it's very like talky. It's not that
John Mulaney telling a story.
It is. It's just like Dave Chappelle's, they're all kind of doing the jokes have evolved differently.
Yeah, it's a one-man podcast where it used to be, I'm telling jokes up here. You know what I mean? That's just a personal observation that may or may not be representative, but it seems, when your question, Cameron, is like, where did he go? It's, well, where did his style of comedy go?
I saw Mitch Hedberg at a comedy club in downtown Orlando 2 weeks before he died.
Oh, wow.
And it was crazy because like he was like on my Mount Rushmore, and this was unbelievable. It was so funny, and it was all the hits plus some new stuff. It was great. But it was like this like really small comedy club, and right up front was a table, like a long table of like 12 girls on a bachelorette night. And it was like literally like a foot from the stage sort of a thing, like right up front. And we were more toward the back. And they were there for a good night out. They were not there for droll, like mundane anti-jokes, anti-humor. You know what I mean? They were there for a comedy, and then, and so they were not vibing with Mitch Hedberg's material at all. And so they were literally talking through the show, like just talking amongst themselves. Like, we don't like this. And they were just having a good time. They were drunk. By the end of his set, he had had enough and he snapped, and he literally yelled at them and berated them that how rude they were and they ruined this for everybody. And he slams the mic down and stormed off. And we're all sitting there stunned, like, is this a bit? Like, is this, what is going on? And then all of a sudden, like, the host comes out like all flustered. Good night, everybody. Sorry.
Whoa.
And we all go outside on the street, and there were patrons verbally accosting the Bachelorette group, screaming at them that this was a special night. You ruined it for all of us. And were all, I think they were crying, and they were all like, they were drunk. They didn't know. It was so crazy. But that was my one time seeing Mitch Hedberg. It was great. But
honestly, wow, what a awesome. I feel like hopefully those girls like
learned a lesson.
Well, no, I feel like it's be interesting to be like, hey, remember that thing happened? And then they see on the news and they're like, the guy that yelled at us, he died. Like, just that story must have been crazy afterwards.
I hope, like, they sent him over the edge. I hope they feel really bad.
I don't want to say that on the podcast, but I'm wondering, like, did you guys set him over the edge? It's your fault.
Wait, how did he die?
Overdose.
Yeah, he had a substance issue.
Pretty
but
bad.
all I have to say is, I don't know a lot of comedians who still have that style of just kind of.
Even Rodney Dangerfield, it came, it's like this evolution of those one-liners are just so good.
He was such a good joke writer, and I would say this about Mitch Hedberg too, or Dimitri Martin too, that if you read a transcript of the set, you would probably laugh. I don't think that would work for a lot of comedians. You know what I mean?
Funny on paper is hard.
I think it's going to get back to that, though. I saw a clip of a comedian on a podcast, and I don't remember his name, but I see his face. And he said to the interviewer, he was asking him kind of about his set and like his approach to comedy. And he said, here's the deal. Like, I've totally changed my act in the last couple of years. And he said, why? He said, because of the social media. And he said, because now if you ask anybody who like watches all these clips on social media of comedians, stand-up comedy, and you ask them what is stand-up comedy, they would say crowd work. They would say, you mix it up with the audience. What's your job? Who's dating this? Da, da, da. They think stand-up comedy is crowd work. And he's like, he said 5 years ago, I would always do a little crowd work in my set. But now, because I'm so mad that is what is driving comedy, he's like, I refuse to do any crowd work anymore. And I'm like, I am a comedian. I am not just a guy who's going to riff with you. And he's like, so I think you're going to see true comedy, true comedians go back to pure stand-up because they don't want social media to define their art anymore. That's my gut.
I just saw Chris D'Elia. I saw 3 really big comedians in a comedy club in LA, and 200 person room was great, and all of them were crowd work. Literally, like Chris D'Elia was trying to tell jokes, but I could tell that he was working out material. But the first 2 acts, literally the whole thing, and I guess it's because it's spontaneous, it is funny. But you're right, like it was like, can we move on already? Like, I
think it's big on social media because like it's going to be different every night. So like a comedian can post what happened during
you can repeat the same joke possibly. It's
versus like his,
you don't want to burn your content,
right?
Yeah.
It's because it's like once it's posted online, then you can't really use it in a set anymore because everyone's already heard it.
They literally, I said I was watching a comedian and he said that offhanded comedy. He goes, all right, just go ahead and burn it. Like basically tell that story that you tell in your set, like on this show that we're on. He's like, go ahead and burn the material. Like, because that's how they are. You're right. Once it's out there nationally, I can't say it on my set anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's why.
Unless you're Jerry Seinfeld.
There are some, comedy experiences that are like, that's what Kill Tony is. It's just basically crowd work. You know what I mean? It's just putting in people of a setting where it's going to be different every night. So, but yeah, it is funny to see how it evolves. But we're also in a really fun age where no matter what kind of comedy you like, or whether it's clean or like, there's guys like Dusty Slay who are, who's hilarious and is more family oriented. And then
a lot of that
edgy stuff. Yeah.
No cursing.
In July, I have tickets to see Ben Schwartz and Friends. Their improv tour.
That's cool.
That's gonna be
very
fun.
Excited. And I also got tickets to see Nate Bargatze in September, I think, at the Arena.
That's incredible.
I just saw this guy Caleb Heron, and it's like for his podcast show too. So part of it was he brought out a guest, part of it he did some crowd work, but the best part was the like first 15, 20 minutes he just did like pure stand-up.
Yeah, I know Caleb. I follow him. He's great.
He's great. But I like just thinking about like I'm thinking about the stand-up stuff and I'm like, I kind of wish he had just done like an hour of stand-up versus all the little kind of gimmicky things. Okay, moving on to the very last thing I just want to mention. This week is sort of TV week in the entertainment world. It's also known as Upfronts week. Streamers and networks are announcing new shows, giving first looks. One that we're really excited about, Fox has announced that they are producing a new show called The Faithful, which is a 6-episode limited series that will retell stories from the book of Genesis through the perspective of 5 key women.
So this story of the women of the Old Testament.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So Sarah, Hagar, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel.
I do think it's interesting that they're picking Old Testament content versus like the Chosen with the New Testament, because think about it. There's a whole lot of people that believe in Genesis.
Oh,
Muslims, Jews, Christians.
Yeah.
You're casting a pretty wide net there.
100%.
A lot of shit.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. So excited to see how that works out and what's coming from that. Another thing that we're excited about, NBC shared their first look at The Paper, which is the spinoff of The Office.
Excited about that.
So this documentary, it'll be based in Toledo, Ohio, at a struggling newspaper as they are navigating this changing media landscape. But what was most exciting was in the first image they posted, you can see Oscar from The Office. He has apparently moved to Ohio and he's doing accounting at another dying industry. So
it's not like the same actor playing a new role. Is literally Oscar from Dunder
it's
Mifflin.
within the universe. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah. He's the connected tissue between Dunder Mifflin and Toledo.
so
Who else do you think would have been good there connecting? Just real quick. Who else would have been good connector?
Oh, any of them. I mean, I think.
I feel like Toby not being liked again in The Paper would be fun.
you know? Yeah.
Toby like being hated on again. Like, we hate this guy. You're going to hate him.
yeah.
Just being bullied relentlessly by volunteer small town newspaper reporters. I would love to see.
Or it could have been Rory Flenderson, his brother, who lived in Boulder. He moved to Toledo.
Good.
But
anyway. And then would he still be hated or would he be the beloved
He's
brother?
the loved one. The other one is hated. Toby's hated.
Oh, okay. He'd be loved. I mean, but he's just as lame as Toby. He likes jams, like he's just a very boring guy like Toby. I don't know. Anyway.
That is premiering this September. So we'll get to see how that all works out, which we're excited about. And then, like I said, there were a few other shows that got renewed, like The Studio, Paradise. I know we really love that. House of David. We already knew that it was getting season 2, but they brought it up again. Hulu announced that The Bear season 4 will be coming in June. Cameron, I know you're thrilled.
Let it die, man. It was great for the first 2. The third one was awful. Let it die.
I think they need to pivot and make it about an actual bear.
Yeah.
In
the only
Chicago,
way I'll watch season 4 is if a bear breaks into the restaurant and destroys everything. And
they cook it at the end.
They have to rebuild the restaurant because it was destroyed by a literal bear.
What if one of the members of the Chicago Bears buys the restaurant?
Okay, I'm down with that too.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I know.
They're going to listen to this podcast and take some notes because we've been dropping gems on some writing gems here.
All right. So lots of TV stuff coming up. We were surprised at some of the cancellations. I saw the list. It was like, it's interesting. Interesting time for a lot of, like a Fox, all of their renewals, like 70% were animated or game
reality
shows.
Yeah.
It was
everything like IP driven, like Suits LA canceled. Everything got canceled.
Yeah.
Which is it was such an awful show anyway. I love Suits and I hated.
Yeah, it should have never been greenlit.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, that'll do it for Relevant Buzz. Make sure to follow Relevant Magazine on IG and check out the website every day where we are covering all of that and a lot more. Thanks, Emily. All right. Stay tuned. Up next, Cautious Clay joins us. She was a chronic people pleaser with an unfulfilling career in Hollywood until she surprised everyone by joining a convent. Equal parts tell-all and rallying cry, Sister Monica Claire's memoir, A Change of Habit, reveals how much we stand to gain when we fully embrace our authentic selves. Sister Helen Prejean says it's, quote, for anyone who needs a little love, a little faith right now. A Change of Habit, Leaving Behind My Husband, Career, and Everything I Owned to Become a Nun by Sister Monica Claire is available now wherever books are sold. Well, our guest today is Cautious Clay. He's one of our favorite indie R&B artists who's dropping a brand new album, The Hours, Morning, today. We sat down with him to hear about the inspiration behind the project and how he's trying to remain rooted and present in a world that's constantly changing. Here's our conversation with Cautious Clay.
They say, stay alive.
Well, your album, The Hours Morning, drops today. So I have to ask, are you a morning person?
I am not. I'm not. Well, I would say that I definitely have become closer to a morning person, but most of my work and genuine activities occur not in the morning if I can help it.
That is really interesting. So then why did you want to create an album that's all about the morning?
It's a good question, but I think it's not just the morning. So I think that's also at the crux of it all. It's really about the hours in general and sort of like what I prefer to listen to or what I prefer to hear at particular times of day. Like each hour, I feel like has always had a distinct feeling to me. And so I wanted to kind of like challenge myself to create something that felt like kind of obviously subjective and then make it objective by just giving it the title that would denote an hour of the day that kind of felt significant to that time. Some of it was like based on lyrics. Some of it was based upon like obviously like the sonic components. But you know, you have songs like Traffic where it's like, okay, like, you know, it feels like traffic, or like the morning trap, you know, and you have songs like, you know, Amber that are like maybe like the color of Amber is obviously the color of the album. So I think that kind of like fit in the wheelhouse as well. So again, it was sort of a challenge to just make it all feel like it could essentially fit into this narrative a little bit in some capacity.
But with my eyes closed, there's no champagne, there's no real reason to celebrate. I just want you close, long as you wanna stay.
Now, I understand each track on the album corresponds to a specific time. I'm curious, did you write the song and assign it to a time, or did you sit down and try to write a song that sounds like 6 a.m.?
I would write it and assign it to a time. I actually wrote, I mean, I already had a lot of music, but I wrote like almost 60 songs over the course of this past year. And, you know, a lot of them I felt like weren't necessarily the right fit for many different reasons, but it was sort of a practice that became something that I could kind of continue on and build upon so that I could sort of like fulfill this kind of idea that I had in my head, where I wanted to do different songs for different hours of the day. And so in many ways, this 8-song album is sort of like an intro to like this kind of concept and this kind of idea.
There's no champagne, there's no real reason to celebrate. I just want you close, long as you wanna stay. The places.
You mentioned you started this project as a way to challenge yourself. What was going on in your life when you started it? Like, what were you thinking about?
I was sort of trying to think about like what types of things people do during the day, because I think it's different for everyone. Like obviously there are a lot of people who have like a 9 to 5 and like, you know, they kind of go to work and then that's the case, but a lot of people who work from home nowadays. So it's like, I kind of wanted to just I felt like it would be interesting to consider what people do listen to at particular times of day, and like whether that's active listening or just like passive listening. I think a lot of people obviously listen passively, but I think it was just an interesting idea that felt very much relatable to where I was at with my everyday, because I obviously like work from home in many capacities and make a lot of my music, and have in the last year developed different sort of habits or things that I felt I could connect to sort of create an environment of consistency, because I just don't have consistency baked into my life in general. So I think like that element of, like, I started playing a lot more basketball. I started to paint. I was also kind of in the process of moving, like from New York to Philadelphia. So now I'm in Philly. My studio's in New York. And so that's kind of been the process of going back and forth to that situation. And I think that all of those like sort of changes in life changes kind of inspired the idea to essentially create something that felt like I could model it, like my music, after something, again, so subjective. But then it's like, okay, well, we're gonna make something that feels like, okay, this is, people may or may not agree with the times or not, but I think that ultimately it was just like a fun practice and it felt very much kind of like exciting and sort of carefree, because it wasn't this super grandiose concept. It was a pretty simple concept, I think. And it felt refreshing to me, kind of creatively, coming off of like my last album.
You said you wrote 60 songs for this project. How did you pick which song would represent which time?
I was going back and forth on quite a few songs, yeah. That was actually the hardest part, is just like figuring out where to put my focus, because I have so much music that may or may not see the light of day. And so it was just kind of like thinking about what inspired me and what made me think, okay, like this feels right. There's a song on this album that I wrote 7 years ago. So, you know, some of those original vocals are literally on that song. So it felt very much kind of like therapeutic, but also like, whoa, okay, how do I feel about the song? Like I basically had to reproduce that song. I had tried to put this song out many different times, but I just never felt right about the production. And so that's kind of what held me from putting it out sooner. You know, in the combination of touring and then trying to like get it to a place where it all made sense. So it was, I guess to answer your question, it was challenging, but it was also, it required a lot more. My process changed in the sense that it required a lot more digging and a lot more reimagining of some things that I may have had for years, you know, or some things that maybe I just made, but, you know, I had to kind of determine what time that felt like.
I can tell that you don't make promises, but I can't let you go. I can't let you go. I can tell.
Well, beyond the time of day element, would you say there's a different message or theme that connects these songs together in some way?
I mean, definitely. I think like part of it, again, my goal with this album was essentially to kind of speak to things that were happening in that time of day. For example, like karaoke songs, like out at 5 a.m., like at karaoke, you know what I'm saying? Or like traffic, as in just like the morning traffic, and then also relating that to your mind of kind of just like focus and having a hard time focusing. Because I think nowadays it's harder than ever to focus at all because there's just so many distractions. And so I very much wanted to relate sort of specific things that can sort of happen throughout the day as an element of the concept, but not necessarily, you know, and there's obviously some songs that are obviously like about love and just like connection, like No Champagne, as in like, we don't need to get married for me to like be connected to you in any deeper way. It's obviously fine, but that's sort of the underlying message there. So there's like elements of everyday experiences. There's also elements of like emotional connection, but it all kind of relates to time and experiences in some subtle ways, you know, but I definitely was purposefully not trying to have a super deep overarching message, because I felt like that. I mean, I've done that on my last album, right? Maybe I'll do it again, but I think like, you know, I think I wanted to kind of just make something that felt like it was something where it was more just, it was emotional, but it was not like so deeply personal to me, you know, because I think I'd already done something to that nature. And it's kind of hard to like, I think as one thing as an artist, I was just having this conversation with someone else recently, but I think it's hard because some people, when they listen to something, well, every time someone else listens to something, they're going to gather a different level of personal than me. So like I could write a song called No Champagne, and then that could have much more of a personal connection than maybe a song like Unfinished House that I put out on my last album. But like for me, from my perspective, it's always going to be different from their perspective. So I don't think I'm any less personal in my lyrics, but I do think that like how it feels is going to be more personal because I know what that song is about versus people are going to go, oh, you know, that song connects to me for whatever reason, you know. So I think ultimately that's at the crux of it as well. It's like I could have so much personality and experience to something that might not be seen, you know, by people on either experience, right? So it's kind of an interesting thought because it's like it's all personal to a certain extent, but I think there's certainly more songs that are more personal for different reasons. You know?
You know, it seems like you're really wanting to encourage people to be present and reflect and slow down in this sort of fast-paced world that we live in.
Yeah, I think that's at the crux of it's like kind of like, okay, like what are you doing today? But let's just like let's be more present. Let's focus on what we're doing right now. I think that's really like at the crux of the hours because there is such a go type of pace that people are experiencing, and like again their brains have to be in so many different places, and I think we all are experiencing that to certain degrees, just constantly being marketed to, and I felt like it would be nice to make something that felt, you know, like we're acknowledging time, but we're not going to try to pressure it, you know?
More than the homie, there's something in my way. You cover it up, see it in your face. I'm calling you back.
That was Cautious Clay. Make sure to check out his brand new album, The Hours Morning. Comes out today. All right, stay tuned. Up next, it's One Has to Go. Okay, it's time for
One has to go.
Okay, it is time for One Has to Go. What you didn't hear, I muted my mic. I was singing along with the jingle. That's why they were.
No, they heard. I actually went back
it.
to the recording and unmuted it.
You unmuted it. Great.
Yeah.
So that was the wonderful harmony you just heard with the jingle was me. Anyway, One Has to Go. I'm just going to tell you 4 things. You just got to tell me one has to go and why. All right, Jesse, we'll start with you. Fast food chicken sandwiches. Are we going Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, Wendy's classic chicken sandwich, or McDonald's McChicken? One has to go.
Oh man, I would say most things from Wendy's can go at this point. They've really gone downhill.
Yeah.
They have totally gone downhill.
Everything's soggy.
Were they
It
ever,
is
were they
the one
ever
fast
uphill?
food place that if I see one car in the drive-thru, I literally roll my eyes and go, "This is gonna be a 20-minute wait," because there's one car in front of
Nobody
me.
cares at Wendy's. No one involved.
No
in
one
that
cares.
Whole
When was the
operation.
last time
They just
anybody
gave
ate at
up.
Wendy's? Like in
I
this
don't
group?
remember.
My kid likes it. So,
Really?
I had nuggets the other day. I had nuggets, and half of them had been stuck together, and so the breading got all soggy on like one side of. It was not a great experience.
I haven't even seen a Wendy's out in California before. Like I swear, I haven't seen one here. So that just shows you.
there was about 6 months ago, there was a thing going around how there was a Wendy's drive-thru menu that was AI ordering, and there was no human taking your order. It was all AI, and that was the Wendy's by my house.
Wow.
And so, like, literally, like, I had pulled up the day before and was like,
55 cheeseburgers, 55 milkshakes. 55.
it was so crazy. Like, and it was like doing AI on the screen and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, this is the future. And then I saw it on social media, like going viral, like this, the future is here. Yeah. Anyway, so Wendy's. Marty, here we go. Breakfast staples: bagel, English muffin, croissant, or biscuit. One has to go.
I'm going to say biscuit. I don't think I've ever had a biscuit for breakfast.
Oh, you're missing out.
I can
Come
have
to the
biscuits
South.
for like lunch and it's
What?
not. Yeah, I would say never had. I've had biscuits with like. I mean, I just don't eat. I've probably had 3 biscuits my whole life. Honestly,
You got to get biscuits and gravy.
Really?
And you'll be good.
Emily, here we go. Office supplies: gel pens, Post-it notes, binder clips, like the big clippy ones.
I know.
Or highlighters. One has to go.
What was the second one you said?
Post-it notes, gel pens, Post-it notes, binder clips, or highlighters. One has to go.
I'm going to go with highlighters.
Really?
I don't need a highlighter. I have gel pens on my desk right now. I still use them. And
I'm a pen snob. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gel
All
pens
right.
are the best.
Jesse, cereal mascots: Tony the Tiger, Toucan Sam, Captain Crunch, or Lucky the Leprechaun. One has to go.
I'm going to say Lucky the Leprechaun. I don't know why. He just never set right with me.
You never see him either. He's always hidden.
Yeah.
What?
No,
I know you're not getting rid of the captain because I know you like boats and pirates and stuff.
Yeah, I know when there's a leprechaun in play, I might get pranked on something.
See
I don't
it,
like
Toucan
that.
Sam.
Toucan Sam, yeah, no
Yeah.
question. That
Get
weird,
rid of-
smelly,
Endangered,
smell
guys.
thing.
Jeez.
Birds are drones, anyways. We don't need them.
Birds aren't real.
Birds aren't real. Are you part of that thing? They're like government surveillance.
No.
Okay.
No, I
It's
am.
satire. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, satire.
I was saying because Emily was telling me the other day that she thinks some of the birds actually are
Could be.
surveillance.
You never know.
Listen,
but
we don't know. We don't know. We see in part, we know in
you're
part.
going to shoot one and then it's going to be like, oh,
I was talking
They're
to
not-
someone recently
Government.
who was a DoD contractor working with the National Reconnaissance Office and actually on a Mossad operation. And they had one that was a bird drone that was so realistic. He like went to his handler and was like, "Hey man, I lost control of the drone. It's got a mind of its own." He's like, "No, that's a real bird. Like you're like." He had confused the drone for a real bird. That's how realistic some of those.
so there are. So
Y'all
Emily,
thought I was crazy.
no, I mean, I could.
Wait, you're confirming that there are some bird drones?
There are bird drones. Absolutely.
That's crazy, dude.
Vindicated.
They're just real.
Vindicated.
All right, Marty, types of workout people: CrossFit bro, hot yoga enthusiasts, long distance runners, or pickleball converts. One has to
Pickleball
go.
converts, you need to go. I have 4 pickleball places right by my house, and those guys are wild, wildly and violent.
Okay, Emily, icons of early 2000s pop culture. So Razor flip phones, Livestrong bracelets, iPod classics, or low-rise jeans. One has to go.
Oh, get low-rise jeans out of here.
Are you kidding?
I'm all for that. No coyote
Listen.
ugly over
No
here.
way. I was
We're
so
not doing
sad
it.
when mom jeans got popular.
No, listen, as someone who was a plus-size kid in the 2000s and as a plus-size adult, I do not want low-rise jeans. Get them out of here. I want high-waisted.
Jesse, Olympic events: curling, dressage, fencing, or steeplechase. One has to go.
Well, I feel like we're not losing dressage. Horse dancing's awesome. Sword
Oh,
fighting.
it's called
is great.
dressage. Sorry.
It's called dressage.
Dressage. Sorry.
Everyone loves curling. Is like the darling. It's got to be the steeple. It's got to be the steeple jump. Even though I like it, I think it's got to go.
Yeah, it's all prancing around, jumping over little fences and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we can't lose. If we get 2 equestrian, one's got to go.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. All right, Marty, youth group snacks: pizza Lunchables, Otter Pops, Mountain Dew Code Red, or Goldfish crackers in a gallon Ziploc.
I'm going to say the pizza has to go because it's never hot. It's always ice cold. And you have cold tomato sauce with cold cheese. That's not how pizza's supposed to be eaten, guys. Come on.
It's not.
It's
like
wrong.
it.
It's
It's disgrace
sacrilegious.
to Italians everywhere.
Just throw it in a microwave at least. But, churches, they're not going to have microwaves. No one's doing that.
Yeah. All right, Emily, last one. Here we go. TikTok food chaos: butterboards, grimace shakes, spicy pickle in a fruit roll-up, or cottage cheese ice cream. One has to go.
Marty and I both had a visceral reaction.
More
to
of them can go. All of them can go if we want, right? 2 at this time.
what was the spicy pickle?
Butterboards, grimace shakes, spicy pickle in a fruit roll-up, or cottage cheese ice cream.
Spicy pickle and a fruit roll up. That reminds me of when I was in youth group. We would play this game where we would see how much food we could stack on a spoon, and then you'd have to eat it. And it would be like a little bit of a fruit roll up, a spicy Cheeto, some pickle juice, a thing of cheese, like so many random. Like it would just be the grossest thing you could think of. And you have to eat it, and that
Why
would
churches always were like, let's.
Oh, no.
We
That
should
was
buy
like
milk.
That was like at sleepovers or or like lock-ins and stuff. Like we were.
Yeah,
just
they're like, let's buy milk and see
time.
who could drink the whole thing. I'm like,
that's about milk that's about to expire.
Yeah.
Well, that's how the church could afford it. It was like the day-old milk.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
$1 off.
Yeah. They're going to the food pantry. All right. Well, that'll do it for.
One has to go.
Well, thanks again to Cautious Clay for joining us today. Make sure to check out his brand new album that comes out today. It's called The Hours Morning. It's out now. Also, make sure to follow Relevant Podcast on Instagram. It's at Relevant Podcast. Every day we're posting One Has to Go stuff in our stories, we're posting clips from the show, the interviews, stuff like that. It's a good follow. You should join us over there. It's fun interacting with everyone. Also, make sure to follow Relevant Magazine on IG or on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all of them, YouTube Shorts, the whole thing. There you go. All right. And on that note, we'll wrap it. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Emily Brown.
I'm Marty.
We'll see you on Friday. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Make sure to check out our coverage at the intersection of faith, life, and culture every day at relevantmagazine.com. And while you're there, don't miss our latest digital issue. Issue 116 features Nate Bargatze, Connor Price, and a lot more. And don't forget Relevant Plus. It's the best way to experience our content, including ad-free reading, an ad-free version of this podcast, and more. You can get all the info and sign up at relevantmagazine.com.
Sometimes the less you know about carny culture, the better.
Relevant Podcast Network.